Hello everyone, welcome to a new video for Bitcoin price prediction based on Elliott Wave analysis. This is a deep analysis for Bitcoin. We're gonna dive, of course, on the cycles to see, of course, what's going on in Bitcoin. Starting from the first cycle, where we saw, of course, a full impulse here as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for wave 1, followed by correction wave 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for wave 3, correction wave 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We finish a full wave A or wave 1. It's a full impulse, 5 waves up, of course, without invalidation here for wave 4. Perfect impulse finishing, of course, around the 68K for Bitcoin. After this, we start to see, of course, a deep correction towards the 15K here after the Ukrainian-Russian war and the FTX bankruptcy. And we saw, of course, a very, very bloody market. And of course, a very strong bull run, of course, followed for Bitcoin to reach above the 120K here. 126K for Bitcoin as a new all-time high, and finish, of course, a bull run as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. And a potential, of course, wave 1 is unfolding here. And this wave 1 is representing an impulse as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because we are still looking here for a large wave A, B, and a C, or a large wave 1, 2, and then 3, 4, and a 5. So by all means, you are in wave B or wave 2 there. And we're looking, of course, for another impulse to unfold for higher prices for Bitcoin as 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. Now, of course, there is no impulse without correction. We need, of course, a correction after every impulse. Is the same as we got, of course, the previously in the history, of course, we got corrections. This time is the same. It's not so much different. So, of course, we're going to get a correction here for Bitcoin to reach at least the 0.38 Fib level taken from the wave 1 here as a retracement. This is the minimum requirement, 56K. And potentially, of course, might be a shallow correction here as a wave 2, only taking the 0.38. And that because, of course, for a reason, not just like that, because, of course, it is a wave 3 first unfolding here. That means the 1, 2, wave 3, 4, and a 5 of a wave 3. Always the wave 3 over 3 is a very shallow wave 2 before it. Yeah, so before we unfold the wave 3 over 3, the wave 2 is very shallow, meaning taking the minimum requirement Fib level here only as a 0.38. Now, of course, it doesn't mean that it has to be very fast and very hurry in time. That means, of course, you still require 3 waves, even if it's gonna be shallow. It requires 3 waves correction, of course, and not just so far a fast 3 waves, because we see right now 3 waves, but we didn't reach the time. So the timing is very, very essential, of course, and we're still looking for large 3 waves here in case we have a wave 2 shallow and then pushing for wave 3 towards the upside for a new all-time high that it might be, of course, in October 2029 here, the new all-time high, based, of course, on the all-time highs that we got before. So the 1 to 1 Fib time will be, of course, around October 2029 here. And especially that the acceleration here, as you can see with the all-time high, every single cycle is start, of course, to get accelerated. Yeah, so here exactly our 4 years, we register a high. The next 4 years, a little bit backward in time. The next 4 years also a little bit backward. And this, of course, year also we got a much more differences here between the cycle and the all-time high. So I'm expecting the same, of course, in the next cycle and in 2029, potentially October, potentially September, of course, around this time, we might get, of course, a very high price for Bitcoin here, a new all-time high. Around the 220K, 230K as well can be very likely as 1.618 taken in a supposed shallow wave 2, of course. And in case we get a shallow wave 2, we're going to reach, of course, this area. We might come back, of course, to the curve here. We might break it a little bit and then push down again. So we'll see how this is going to happen. With Bitcoin, of course, the curve is very interesting as well because it traces exactly somehow the price for Bitcoin, how and where the next all-time high might hit. So the last all-time high, if we take here, of course, this curve based on the all-time highs, all of them, the last all-time high was a little bit truncated here. We didn't saw a perfect hit, the same as the one before. So we see a little bit here of lack of performance a little bit. So maybe the next wave 3/3, which is very impulsive and aggressive, might of course break it. So it might break it a little bit and then pushing down again. I'm not expecting, of course, that Bitcoin push above it. I'm expecting, of course, that it might break it a little bit and then push down. After all, of course, for another correction, wave 4 and then wave 5 again, and then so on. So basically, right now we are looking at this correction. This correction is, of course, looking for the 0.38. If a deeper correction will unfold, that means, of course, we might get a longer time. So as you can see, the timing here, if you get a shallow correction, you might finish in this time in between, of course, December this year, 2026, potentially. But if we dive in a deeper correction, meaning, of course, if we correct until here and the things show up as corrective still and weakness appears again, it might be a deeper correction until 2028 February to start, of course, the new bull run again for Bitcoin to hit this area as expected. Yep, so this is regarding the cycles analysis for Bitcoin. Let's dive inside it here on the daily to see, of course, our channeling, our position today within the price within channeling. So as you can see, the last bull run channel here, the base channel, of course, is broken, signal, of course, of a correction. And definitely, currently, we are unfolding something as a corrective wave here, very, very deep. So far as a one leg toward the downside, if we are considering this as one leg as a wave A. And it can be, of course, even deeper if this will transform to an impulse, but a signal for an impulse is breaking the base channel. This base channel is taken from this wave 1, 2. So if it is supposed that this is your wave 3 here as a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5, you are supposed, of course, to break this channel already very massively or decisively, and then having 4 and a 5, 4 and a 5, arranging outside the base channel to consider this as a wave 3. Meaning deep correction can be unfolding, of course, only once we break this base channel. If the price still above this base channel, that means, of course, we still can move toward the upside here. We might still be in an A, B, of course, and then wave C toward the downside, 5 ways down, as the shallow, regular flat that we just explained in the cycles, right? On the cycles, we were explaining, of course, is this a regular flat, as you can see, and we might still hit it. Now, of course, a deeper correction, we're going to see it in the probabilities here. However, of course, the base channel, to keep it in mind, it should be broken as a clear signal that we are pushing downward in a wave 3. Now, for the probabilities, as we mentioned, that yes, very likely that we might have an ABC here, regular flat. Of course, it is very likely as well to transform to an expanding flat here as a wave 2. This wave 2, of course, expanding flat. Both will reach again, of course, the 0.38 fib level, whether you are in a regular flat or an expanding flat, because the expanding flat will reach the 1.618 here Fibonacci level, while the regular flat is required, of course, for the 1.0 fib level, of course, and both will come back at the same area, finishing the wave 2, which is still a shallow wave 2 regular flat or expanding flat, and then pushing for a bull run, wave 3 towards the upside. Deeper correction, meaning breaking the channel, as we explained. Of course, we want to break this channel, meaning, of course, you are in double 1, 2 in the top, wave 3 unfinished yet. It is a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5, then 4 and a 5, 4 and a 5 to finish wave A, then pushing for wave B, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 again, of course, to hit this area, which is, of course, our area. We mentioned, of course, the timing here that it might reach, of course, for this correction. And so also we saw it in the cycle. Now, of course, on the daily is much more precise on the candles of the daily. So that is even much more precise here between July 2027 and, of course, as a perfection, I would say 2028 in the beginning of it, where we might finish, of course, a correction in case we are in a deep correction, and then pushing for the bull run. As you know, October 2029, in 1 year, we will reach a new all-time high. Yep, so this is regarding the highest possibilities here for Bitcoin. Now, what are the possibilities after, of course, having 3 waves? Is it necessarily to get a regular flat or a something as an expanding flat? Well, it's not. Of course, there are many possibilities. You can get a triangle here, nobody knows, and then pushing again a wave C toward the downside, but very, very low possibility to get a triangle in a flat. Mostly triangles gets in a zigzag. Therefore, of course, yes, the highest possibility is regular flat, ABC, or expanding flat. So this is regarding the deep and the flats that we might get, of course, for Bitcoin in this correction. Let's dive on the 2 hours chart here. For the 2 hours chart, we are looking here at a very, very creepy price action. So lately, of course, I mean, definitely the market is very, very confused what to do, the decision that it has to do here, pushing for higher in a regular flat or pushing deeper in a very deep correction. Now, we were still looking, of course, at this potential wave here, that it was supposed to be, of course, 5 waves to end up, of course, the structure, because we need always 5 waves to end up. Now, we got like kind of like 5 waves internally, which suggesting an ABC finished here in case that this is a 5 wave expanding diagonal, which is very rare case, but we don't have any other choice since yesterday drop here. And that means, of course, this can finish in a wave Y, can be finished in a wave Y, AWX, and a wave Y, ABC, finished in an expanding diagonal, wave C, to finish a wave Y, and we drop down, of course, impulsively again. Unless there is still one more trap here, since we got an expanding diagonal here. What if that this is our expanding diagonal? Yeah, meaning finishing an A, B, and a C, which still can get, of course, 5 ways toward the upside. I mean, we have already took the expanding diagonal, which is the most rare case scenario here. But of course, if we took it here, what if it happened in a bigger scale still? And it might happen because once you start to get a creepy and very, very weird price action, that is very likely, of course, to shift here in an expanding diagonal to finish an ABC. Yeah, so and then pushing toward the downside can be likely. But yeah, I mean, the signals here has been given, of course, as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But don't forget, if you are in an expanding diagonal, that means, of course, wave 4 has to be longer than the wave 2, and that is very likely to drop down still, and of course then pushing toward the upside in wave 5, which I doubt it still. Of course, we don't want to be, of course, very, very like into very rare case scenarios, since already it is done there. Let's keep it there, finished as a wave C, wave Y, and potentially we drop down. Now, if we drop down, don't forget that this is a finished correction here, and we're pushing towards the downside within a very deep, of course, correction for Bitcoin, which is, of course, the zigzag here. We're talking here about 23, 25, and 35K. But, of course, signal of confirmation has to be given, of course, by breaking this base channel again and having a decisive move toward the downside for Bitcoin. So highest probability right now is, of course, to continue the drop downward, but we still need, of course, a very clear or precise decision here. I'm afraid that the things comes back to the base channel here, get some support again, and then push in the expanding diagonal that I was talking about. So I'm afraid from this scenario so much as, of course, getting zigzag here and then pushing in a wave 5 here, expanding diagonal. Hopefully not. Hopefully that this might not happen because this will be, of course, a very, very huge trap that we might get over there, guys. So we'll see what's going to happen. Higher possibility is to drop down. Of course, we're still corrective at the end, but I'm afraid, of course, if this is going to turn into something much more higher, because even we can still consider a 1-2, another 1-2 here as an expanding diagonal, and then wave 3, 4, 5, 4, 5 in case we are in a regular flat as well. So this possibility also still there. Nothing yet is out of the scenario here. everything can come back, of course, at any time, where we might still have double 1 2, and the wave 1 here is the expanding diagonal, which is supposed to be a zigzag, but the zigzag can be also double 1 2, guys. So we have to keep this in mind. Confirmation that we're pushed toward the downside is breaking the base channel. There is no other way to consider this as a very deep correction. So we still need this as an evidence. That was it for Bitcoin, the deep analysis. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your likes and comments. See you in the next one. Bye-bye. Before you leave, make sure to join our private Discord community. There you will get daily updates faster than YouTube, plus exclusive bonus trading signals for the gold, silver, Bitcoin, and stocks. You can also request one special technical analysis every day and get access even to our only members video on YouTube and also on Discord. And stay ahead, of course, with economic and political news that actually moves the market. And of course, we do regular Q&A sessions, so you can get your questions answered directly in the Discord. And of course, if you're serious about leveling your trading, the Discord link is below in the description and in the comments. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your likes and comments, and see you in the next one. Bye-bye.